relax, and keep your eyes to the skies.
Greetings, folks, and welcome to S4, where we talk about the serious issues involving paranormal and current events, coming to you live from the S4 headquarters in the heart of the Cascade Mountains in the studio of Cape Horn, Washington, here in Concrete. So tonight, April 11th, what is so scary about the paranormal? Can I die? What are the hazards, and how does a risk assessment help? Are there mitigations for the risks? Well, come on, of course there are, but many teams just shrug them off. No one gets hurt on TV shows. So it must be harmless fun, right?
I think the guy from the Crow, the guy from the original Crow movie would argue.
Oh, absolutely. But, you know, you watch Ghost Adventures and all the other stupid shit on TV, and, oh my God, they don't ever get hurt. There must be nothing dangerous about paranormal issues. Yeah, okay. Keep thinking
it only happens to their cameramen.
Right? Or, you know, Zach Bagans, he touches Annabelle and gets possessed. Oh, my God. And you got Joe Huff, who all of a sudden quits. Wait. Quote, unquote, quits. Because, wait for it. His family got threatened by a demon. But he's still selling his shit, right? And then he's right back into it 2 weeks later. Yeah, okay. Yes, folks, there are dangers to the paranormal. We're going to talk about it tonight. But honestly, about 80% of your dangers are mundane. They're mold. They're carbon monoxide. They're mildew. They're clients sometimes.
No,
I mean, so we're going to go over a list. One of my references that I use tonight is www.paranormalsafety.com. Great website. They have great advice for any teams out there that actually, newbies that actually want to find out more information of what we're talking about tonight. So tonight, we got to give a shout out real quick to California Highway State Patrol Unit S4.
Hey, S4.
If you're a listener, then I don't know, maybe you got your code name S4 from our show. I don't know. If you did, kudos to you. So tonight we got Arnold and his son Daniel. Daniel's been having a whole lot of paranormal experiences in Eastern Washington, so we're going to be talking about that a lot tonight as well. So how's everyone doing?
Can't wait for that.
Good.
Doing good. Hey, we are just outrageous. It's Sunday night, and I'm here live with you guys on S4. Yeah.
The only show out there that talks about real shit.
Yeah, well,
I feel like
maybe.
crap.
You do?
Everything hurts.
That was messed up, man.
I've been working all weekend.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, and I had my second Moderna shot yesterday, and it's knocking me on my ass.
Oh, no.
Oh, we just had a coworker out for a whole month after his second one.
It's no more than the flu, honestly.
He had the reaction where it makes your whole, like, the side you get the shot in all numbed up and,
Ooh.
Oh, like
kind of your
Bell's
muscles kind of
palsy
seized up.
stuff.
Yeah, it's called.
Yeah.
Like you've had a stroke.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the doctor thought he had an issue with, but when they did the MRI and all of that, they couldn't find any neurological evidence or anything. The only thing they could pin it back to was because it's within 24 hours of getting the shot, and they said, well, we'll give you some meds and muscle relaxers, stuff like that, and just stay away from work for a little while. And he just returned back after 3 weeks off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it impacts. I've heard some people, they say they got a sore arm, and that was it, and that was with the second shot. So it hits everyone differently.
Yeah.
Some people die.
Some people die.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, I got to tell you, it's all personal choice, but Cole, I hope you're ready to take over here soon,
Are you dying?
Nope.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I think Barry has plans for you.
It's okay. Like I said during before the show, I got a 308 brain. And it's got a scope. You can't run and hide too far. Anyway, so let's start off with Daniel. So what's going on? What all have you been seeing? Tell us some of the experiences you've had in Eastern Water.
So, the more recent ones I've had, like this, like Shadow Walker, I would say. I forgot what the name was, that my dad had said that you guys call him. When I'm down working a lot, or if I'm outside, I'll see like a figure, more like an apparition type, movement, but it's a full-bodied movement. It's not like not a human silhouette, but it's like a vapor that just kind of moves through. And every time I see it, I'll hear like a wind chime come through with it.
Huh.
And it's always kind of like in a real like kind of that twilight time of day, so you never really get to see what it looks like, but it's enough to see and know that it's there. I've also had...
So that there reminds me of Fae.
That's what I thought when I was looking up some different lore about, like specifically like Native American lore about the stuff in this valley, because the Yakima Nation had a little bit of info on some of it, and they've got a couple different ones, but I couldn't really pin down which one would be more exact. Because one they made mention of was like a trickster. It would lure away children out into the woods, and they would disappear. But there was another one that was kind of like a like just like a spirit being that would come and visit. Like it was just watching over what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
As for Fae, I haven't really... There's only a few Fae that I've actually seen, and they've mainly been like a water or forest type.
Right.
Also, I've had several different times I've run across some Bigfoot, and one... I believe, was it like a Wendigo? Because one night I was up in Colville area, and I was making some calls and seeing if I could get any Bigfoots to respond. I just had this like severe chill run through me, and when I was looking out into the brush, I just saw these like dimmingly like red eyes, and like almost like a haunting like shrill that this thing made. Like it wasn't like a light shrill, it's like a guttural shrill. And when I decided to like put a light towards the area, it took off through the brush, and it's a steep hillside where I was at, so it goes up a good like 60-degree incline. Like it cleared that whole area and did not really leave anything to be left.
Huh. I've never... So, Barry, have you ever heard of Bigfoot having red eyes?
No, I have not.
I've
seen... Yeah, that's not a...
Oh, no, that one I was mentioning about the Wendigo. That's what I believe that one is. The Bigfoot, I haven't gotten a close-up view of one over here. I have previously when I used to live over in Elma.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones over here, as far as I've been able to tell from when I've been out, they're more shy than the ones over west of the mountains.
Right.
Like, I got one night, me and my girlfriend were out on the porch up by where we were staying, and she had never heard, seen, or anything, so I was like, well, I'll give it a shot, see if I can get any to call out. And I made a couple like lighter calls. Nothing really responded. I switched over to deeper calls to see if I could get any like territorial or any like that response.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the coyotes going off and the owls, and then this one, I'd roughly say is probably within like a few hundred yards, call back, and everything in the valley where we were at went quiet. And then after that, I was hearing like the whistling from it and the like sort of tree knock or whatever it was hitting on, which I believe is more of a territorial, like, this is my area, stay out. And that's been the most of it, because I've never been able to get them to come closer over here. The closest experience I've had with one was when I was living at Schaefer. I had went down by the river at night, and I did a few calls. I got one to respond, and I got it down to where I could see the brush moving through the trees. It was probably 100 yards, and it just kept coming closer and closer until one point someone had come down on the opposite side of the river and was fishing, and it went back up into the hills. But the area that it was in, and I went back over there the next day, I couldn't get any cast or anything from it, but there's no way like a person could be down there because it's all like a bog. You'd step foot down there and you'd sink at least up to your knees in the like peat down there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been a lot of Bigfoot reports around bogs. You know, you got cranberries that grow in bogs. I think they eat. Things of that nature.
I wonder if they eat skunk cabbage. Maybe that's what contributes to their smell, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would notice is when the skunk cabbage would be in bloom. Because I kind of kept an eye on like what other animals would be in the area at the same time I'd see the Bigfoot, was because like when the bears would come through, there would be a higher activity of like Sasquatch, because all the berries, the skunk cabbage, and all the other stuff like that would be in full swing, and could never tell between the two because they would the bears would destroy the ground so much, but the skunk cabbage would definitely be mowed down in a couple of days when it was fresh.
See, I've always wondered if they travel with the bigger animals so that they're more camouflaged. You know, like, so the bigger animals can kind of cover their tracks a little better.
Oh, that and their food sources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we again going by what Tyler's told us, they do follow coyote and wolf packs. So they're migratory to an extent, but I don't think all of them migrate because I mean here we see tracks during the winter in Lake Tae, for example. So I don't think all of them migrate, but I think maybe family units bite.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot more of the males or juveniles will stay in a certain area if it's got enough food in it.
Right.
Like down here, I have a friend who lives up in Wenatchee, up in the National Forest area, and he sees tracks occasionally in the snow from them, but not as many as he would see normally, like beaten down on a path or something during the spring into midsummer before it gets too hot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what else has been going on?
I think I've also had I don't know if it attached to me or if it was already in the complex I'm living in, but we've had a being that has kind of floated through occasionally. Like, there's times where I'll pick up on, like, a presence there, but no, like, I'll be the only one there. And at the same time I'm doing that, our cat will follow it through the whole apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she'll be sleeping up in her little loft or whatever, and then she'll just all of a sudden wake up when this thing comes through, and she like tracks the whole movement, and she'll get down and go out to the living room, stare at one of the places it's at, and then go over to the other area, and then it goes out the door, and she'll sit there at the door looking for it to come back in, and it's gone. But we've never had anything like drastic happen with it.
Okay. Okay.
Interesting.
So did this being feel human or non-human?
I would say it feels semi-non-human just because of the fact that a lot of the human entities that I can feel don't bring my attention so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it comes in, like it instantly feels like someone is there right behind you. Like I've had a couple other like human spirits that I've seen, and it takes me a while to kind of like get into like a range to feel them.
Mm-hmm.
Versus where this one can be anywhere in like a percentage of where I'm at, and I instantly feel it being there.
Okay.
Now, does it have like an ominous feeling to it, or is it just like there?
It's just there. Like I've dealt with a lot of ominous beings before, and I always get the kind of your hair goes up in the back of your neck and you get chilled, or you feel something really cold on you. This one doesn't really it doesn't interact with anything. It just kind of like goes through its way, and it's almost got the same pattern.
Okay, and does it happen usually around the same time of day, or is it different?
Yeah, it's usually like around noon, and then like towards like the evening, like 4 or 5 o'clock.
Have you been journaling?
I have been. I've been writing it down a little bit just to keep track of what the actual emotions are.
Excellent. So anytime I tell someone to journal, I always recommend the date, the time, location, what the weather was, and then obviously a good description of what's going on, because then you can actually track month by month if it's coming at a certain time of day, a certain time of the month, things of that nature, and you can actually pinpoint whether it's a spirit that's actually coming home for dinner, things like that.
Yeah.
And then,
let me ask. I'm sorry, guys.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go for it.
I was going to ask him. Daniel, it seems like this has been going on for you for a while. Are you sensitive, and has it been going on most of your life? When did these things start actually happening with you, and when did you start really worrying about it, or when you thought this is happening? Did it happen when you went to school and it really broke off, or did it happen before in other areas and other times? Just give me a little bit of background so we can cover that for sure.
I would probably say it started when I was a lot younger, when I would have I had a lot of vivid astral dreams when I was younger. It kind of started out with sort of a mundane kind of thing. One of them I had, and I just started recently having them really strongly again. There's a white hallway with it's kind of like a infinity type room where it's all of it's white, but it's emanating light from no real light source.
Right.
But there's pillars with different items on them. One of them is a bunch of different mineral things. There's one that's
like crystals. Is that what you're talking about when you say minerals?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there's another one with a traditional Native American dream catcher on it. And I've noticed going through each of these pillars in different times of my life that I've come across the materials for it, or it's an event that'll happen in my life.
Okay.
Because with the dream catcher, we had some really good friends. When I lived over in Elma, we were working on making a dream catcher, but in the previous years before I met him, I had a astral dream where I was put out into a pine meadow forest, and I followed a red-tailed hawk down a trail to a cave where this shaman was, and he told me to meet him in my time. And it actually turned out that me and the same guy had the same dream, but it was reversed, where he was the shaman at the cave.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So I've had a lot of these different. I'm gonna say connections. I don't know if that's the right word, to an astral realm, but the earliest age I can remember having and it's still ingrained in my mind, was probably around 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would have just different connections with things that kids my age didn't, think about or see.
Right.
Okay. I would be with some of my friends going down a certain spot, and I would just feel a really heavy energy there, but they weren't bothered by it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I could tell something was in this area, and we shouldn't be here in this exact spot.
Right. You were actually, you were able to pick up the energy and feel it, and know that you shouldn't have been there, or you needed to relieve, because you're feeling your body and you're listening to your body, which is perfect. What changed in this? For some reason or other, I'm getting this thing that something changed and kind of gave you a scare. What was that?
So I was, I want to say I was 15, and I was with one of my friends. We were out on a logging road, and we were out, it's hunting season. We were coming back, and it was getting towards dusk, and we found this old trapper's cabin that was set up. We were probably an hour or two from any main road at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in there, and at this time I'd already had experiences with different energies and seeing different things that no one else could really see, and that kind of thing.
Right.
And I went in there, and there was this, more of a, full body, apparition that kind of came at me, and right at the edge of where, he would come, go passing through me, and I can't really remember them today, but I got, a flash of images in my head. And the only thing I could think was, it was a memory from him or whoever it was when they were living.
Did it run through you?
Yeah.
Did you get the feeling like you just walked over a grave?
Yeah, but basically I did, my friend thought I had a stroke or something, because I just looked so flush white, and I could not I could not really move or anything. And I had talked to him about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he thought he saw it, but he thought it might have just been a shadow, because he was only 60 feet from me ish.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And at that point, that's when I started picking up more heavily on other types of fae, spirits, that kind of thing. From that point forward.
Right. It opened you. You had something that opened you up farther.
Yeah.
Right. You were actually experiencing, when he went through, you were actually literally seeing part of his life. Is that what you believe?
Yeah.
Okay. Then what happened at that cabin?
So after that, I got a really familiar, I felt like it was really familiar after that point. So then we went back a few days later, actually in the daylight.
Yeah, you had an urge to go back there, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And my buddy went with me, the same guy, and I told him, like, hey, I gotta check this out. I don't know what's going on with it, but I gotta see what's going on. Right. So he is game for it. So we went walking for about probably 200 yards from the cabin, and I just had this like urge to stop and like observe the area. It actually came up to be that there was 2 graves, like shallow graves there.
Yeah. Okay.
Because like in the area that was growing, it was like all salal and a bunch of other stuff. But in this one patch, it was only moss, and it was a really good area for everything to grow in. But there was no mushrooms, there wasn't anything. It was just pure like a carpet of moss.
Right. You said there was 2 graves. Were you pulled to one or the other?
It was kind of in between, so I didn't know if it was a group that had been buried there, or if it was, because how they were laid out was kind of, there wasn't like 2 distinct mounds, but there was kind of a divot between them. I mean, like, the ground settling or something between them, but it was a decent size. It was probably 8 by 7 or so.
Okay.
An area.
Sounds like they were trying to take you to where they died or where they were buried or whatnot.
Exactly. Yeah. And what did you feel there?
So it was like at that point where it was kind of like a relieved feeling.
Like you were home or something?
Yeah, it was like at ease.
Peace. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know, like maybe they died in the cabin and then could not get back to their body to cross over or something. Or if that was a point where he needed to get to, but he couldn't get back because he couldn't remember where things were at.
Right.
So I do think some spirits, like in that situation, can cross over, but they're not fully settled. They have crossed over, but they still want that closure of their family knowing where they were buried or something of that nature.
Yeah.
Because if they were stuck, you would have had a lot more chaos given to you.
Yeah.
Well, did you have any of your habits change after you had that experience? Like, did you wear did you like certain types of clothes that you maybe didn't like? Did you like a certain hat, or did you like to go to certain areas that you wouldn't have gone to? For the areas, there was a couple areas that weren't too far from there that I just kind of randomly stumbled upon. And it was kind of just after that point, it was just kind of like a favorite place to go. Right.
Because there's a little tiny train trestle out there that they used to use for a rail car to get into town and like transport like smaller lumber loads and stuff out of that kind of region.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of called to me to go in. Like go there like every once in a while. They didn't change any like major habits or like clothing, but like there's that area, and then there's another pond near there too that I found that was kind of tied with those two that I felt for a while like strongly tied to go to. It's like, huh?
Did you fish that pond?
I didn't fish it. As far as I could see in there wasn't anything there, but there used to be like a small piece of a dock.
Okay. And have you gone back there lately?
I haven't since I haven't been able to go there since really COVID and all of that stuff's been going on. But I plan to go back in the areas when I get some stuff worked out.
Okay, so it's been about a year or so since you've been there?
Going on 4 years.
Okay. Do you feel pulled there?
Now. I feel strongly to go back there. Like, just to the area where I used to be, but not, like, necessarily those. But I'd be interested to see if I got near them, if I would be, like, pulled into going and staying there for a bit.
Okay. All right. And then what happened after you left that area and haven't been there for 4 years. What else is going on? It seems like you had pretty good control of what was happening around you with some of these entities and some of the things in your astral travel and everything else. Yeah. And now all of a sudden it seems to change, and now you have some concern about some of the things that you're seeing. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, just mainly because I haven't seen some. Well, I've seen like shadow people or that kind of thing occasionally, but not as often as this one's been around. Just mainly due to like it kind of goes off like a clockwork. Like anytime I'm at a certain place or a certain time, it'll come around, but it doesn't ever mess with me. But it's not like a threatening thing, so I've been just kind of taking note of what happens.
Does it kind of just, do you feel like it's watching you?
More or less, yes.
Okay.
Because it's not around when any of my other coworkers or any other people I talk to is around. It's only when I'm by myself. But it's not anywhere else. If I go, like when I go out to my girlfriend's dad's, it's not out there.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as I come back into town and I'm doing my normal things and I'm at certain places, it's there.
Okay.
So, do you know how to ground and shield?
I had a friend who was teaching me about that, but she moved over to Canada, and I haven't really talked to her since.
Okay, we'll be going over that probably in the third hour.
Yeah.
We'll start talking about the protections, because it's hard to do when someone's just explaining it on the air, but you can get the basic grasp and then develop it on your own as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that'll help protect you and shield you a little bit from some of these that are seemingly trying to communicate with you.
Right.
Okay.
When you go these places, do you go in open all the time, so you're just pulling it, or do you close yourself off at times?
I haven't actually been able to figure out how to close off that yet. So anytime I go into areas, that's always like in the forefront of what's going on.
Do you have any type of protection at all? Do you use any kind of protection, any crystals, anything like that right now?
When I feel like there are certain days where like any energy will be really strong, like almost overbearing. Like those days, I've got a kit that I have on me with like sage and a few different things, and a crystal that a friend gave me a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. What type of crystal is it? Do you know?
It's like a little smoky quartz.
Okay.
I would recommend. I would recommend getting a black tourmaline. That's what our team uses all the time. If black tourmaline doesn't seem to work for you, because you do have native blood, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Try a tiger's eye. That's what Cole uses.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you're drawn to like the Tianaway River Valley area and stuff like that, try the blue agate as well.
I was gonna bring that up too.
Right. Very good.
There's a couple spots in the Tianaway Valley that I've been to.
Is it natural to that area? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, it's that have some really heavy energy that I've been drawn to go. Like, it feels like it's pulling me down to go, like, look for it or something of that matter.
When you say heavy energy, what do you mean by that?
More, not a demonic feeling energy, because those ones I definitely can feel and avoid if I can. But it kind of feels like if you're in water, like if you're in an area where you can't touch the bottom and your chest feels like it's like shrinking. But like your
heavy pressure.
Yeah, like your whole body is weighted down by it.
Right. Does it feel like it comes from the back of your sits on the top of your head and to the back of your neck?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I've actually got the one area pulled up. And this is the second area that I've had it happen in. The Quartz Mountain.
Okay.
Is just on the other side of the main, Tianaway area.
Mm-hmm.
But that one definitely has that energy. And then there's, you know where Cooper Lake is?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure they do, though.
That area as well, because I went up there fishing, and when I was getting out of the car, I looked across the lake, and I couldn't see anything. But when we went by this tree there, and it's a tree I will always remember because of this, it looks like it has a lightning burn on it, and at the base of the tree, when we got 20, 30 yards from it, I had that same energy, but it was like pulling me to go up the hill. Because with those ones, I don't let myself go follow it. Like if I feel like a very light energy, like something like the more neutral Fae do, I'll go into where they're at, but only if they make themselves present to me.
Okay.
Because one of the times I went to go look for one of the energies when I was younger, when I was heavy like that. I don't know what it was, but there was nothing in this field at all. And then all of a sudden, when I was going towards the brush, because I could see through the brush, but I couldn't see anything at that age. It had come running towards me, and it felt like it kind of felt like an energy that you would feel if you had like a dog running at you that was, aggressive. It was a very unnerving energy that it just came straight at me, and I didn't go back to that area afterwards, and I didn't as soon as I got out of that patch, it stopped. Like, it stopped and went back.
Okay. Interesting.
So, I'm trying to figure out, okay, did you grow up then, over in the Wenatchee Forest land, and then you moved to, Yuma and over by the Rainier, or which way did...
So we first, when I was born in Yakima, then brought home up to Snoqualmie Pass, up to the top at Hyack. Okay. We lived there for a while. Then we moved down to Maple Valley, Enumclaw area, over by the base of Mount Rainier. From there, we went back to Arkansas, Little Rock area. Then came back out here to the San Juans on Lopez Island. Came back to Orondo, Wenatchee area. Then back down here to Ellensburg, and I'd say the real peak of feeling anything of this was was in this area, was when I first really started having a lot more of the physical feeling, energy stuff, and that started about when I was 10 at that time, and I couldn't really understand what it was because, like I said, my friends would just go about their way doing something, but I would feel something totally different in the area.
Have you ever seen a UFO?
Yes.
And when did you see it the first time?
The first time I saw one was I was 11. We were just moving over to Elma at the time. And I saw something that I thought was like a comet or something, but it would move and then it stayed in one spot for a few minutes. and then went kind of north, back south, back over to east, and then west, and then finally kind of like went lower and then went up northeast-ish.
Okay, so you were already having these experiences before you saw the UFO, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I didn't have a grasp on what it was at that age, but I did know something was not
normal,
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Arnold,
how many experiences have you had with UFOs?
I can count 4 for sure that I know, and there's a 5th one that I'm not 100% for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Just due to the way that it moved through the sky was kind of interesting, but I can't write that one off completely, because there was a few times where I'd seen some more, at the time they were doing a lot of advanced, like, military aircraft, and they would do it at night in the area that I was at.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them they flew a lot was a stealth bomber. I can't remember which type it is. It's the one that's kind of like the triangle with the
B-2.
Wings cut out the back.
That's a B-2 bomber.
Because I was seeing something in the sky that was a relatively similar shape, but when it went under the cloud, it kept the blue sky for a second before it switched over to looking like it was a cloud. Like it had a
cloaking.
Yeah, it had like a cloaking on it, but I couldn't see a definite outline. But it was in the same kind of shape that was in, so I don't know about that one.
Right.
Okay. The other ones I saw were more that same kind of like it was trying to trace out where it was in the area.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just not as easy for a normal aircraft to do those kind of movements. Like. Okay.
So do you get the feeling of being pulled outside to see these things? Like you're gonna see one, or you're
there are 2 times definitely that I've gotten that. Because like when I was younger, and my dad can attest for this, I did not go outside at dusk. I would go outside at either like actual like night, or I'd go really early in the day. And then there was a few times where I just felt like I needed to be outside at this exact time, and then that's when I would see a lot of these things.
Okay.
So, Arnold, were you with him for any of these?
No, but like he says, there was a time where it would not even be dark out, and he wouldn't go outside. He'd say, no, I can't go outside. I can't. Mm-hmm. And then other times he'd be, I gotta go out now. Like you said, I gotta go out now. And we're like, wait a minute, you just said you couldn't, and now you're wanting to go out. And it was, and we always laughed. It was like, it's still light out, but you don't want to go outside.
Yeah.
You know? Mm-hmm. And it was like, again, not thinking of what was going on with him and stuff like this. It was like, all right, what's going on?
And it's like, that was the time, too, where, I mean, the most I spent inside was sleeping.
Yeah.
Did you just feel like when you were sleeping, did it feel like you weren't tired and all of a sudden you were just flat out and you felt like, how'd you feel when you woke up? Did you Did you feel like you had knowledge, or you felt like you knew something, or something happened?
There's times like that where I'll know about something in an area, and then I'll just go drive to it or go walk to it and find something. Just like it can be like an ordinary thing, but it's like it's not something I knew before. Like,
right. Okay.
Like a good one, for instance, I went to my friend's house and I was staying the night, and I got up the next day and I'm like, hey, let's go to this waterfall. And she'd been there for 15 years and didn't know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And we walked a good 120 yards behind her house, and there's a full, like, little 6-foot waterfall that was running down the hillside into like a little ravine.
Mm-hmm.
And no one in the area, even our kids who rode dirt bikes, like, within 100 yards of this even knew it was there.
Hmm.
Now, Arnold,
Yeah.
When your son was a little kid, like 3,
Yes.
4 and under, did he have a lot of imaginary friends? Like different people that he would talk to, but that weren't necessarily there or that you could see?
No, what he did have when he was younger is, like, if I encountered him, all of a sudden he would not look at me. He'd be off and he'd look like into a corner.
Mm-hmm.
And only one corner in the room, and we have, I think we saw pictures of him laying on, and he's laying on my arm, and I look at, and he's not looking at me. He's looking up into this one corner, and that was the only corner he would look at.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
When he would like get sick or anything, he'd want me, and then but all of a sudden he'd want Mom, and then he'd want to be back in the bedroom to where he would be looking up in this corner.
Okay.
Mine just started.
Oh yeah, I just left the chat. Okay. But yeah, well, you could probably be over here within a mic range. Okay. But yeah, no, that's kind of like the thing is like it didn't really hit until like that I could acknowledge like later, like I was saying, like around 10. And then. Oh god, yeah, that was. So one of the actual times that I had like an actual like full bodied spirit interaction.
Okay.
This was one of the more interesting ones.
Yeah, the quail were all just out here.
We were up at what was it? Harrison Hospital in Bremerton, and my mom Carol had to go in for surgery or congestive heart failure scan, and my dad's mom, my grandma, who's been gone for at that time, long time, as he says, came out of a cement wall and like full like white fabric. I can't really describe what it looked like, but Ellen would tell me everything will be okay, you know, watching over you, and then just disappeared. Like she came from the wall into the vehicle I was in, and then just left. Like I turned my head for a second, looked back, and she was gone.
Okay.
And at that time, I'd never really seen a picture of her. And then so he flipped through some family photos, and I don't know whose face was worse, mine or his, because I just turned, still for a minute, because it was just like I just saw her, but yet she's supposed to be gone for
right,
many years.
Right, exactly. And you're looking at a photo of her, and you know that exactly if this is the person that you're.
Yeah,
you're
he didn't even finish turning the page before I put my finger down who it was. Like,
right.
Interesting, very interesting. Do you have any problems with electromagnetic fields? Do you have any odd things happening with lights or anything like that? Do you have PK activity of some site where maybe you could move an object? Have you ever done that before?
I haven't. I've heard about it, and my friend tried to see if I could do much, but we couldn't figure anything out with it because the way she explained it to me was in the beginning it's kind of certain things that it will happen with.
Right. Radios, TVs, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Blanking off. Never had anything like that?
Not really. The closest thing I've had was kind of like a light that was in the room with me, kind of started like doing like almost a brownout would.
Right.
But the rest of the house didn't.
How about light bulbs? Do you ever have a lot of light bulbs? Or Arnold, do you remember him? Or do you remember changing a lot of light bulbs at certain times?
He's asking if you ever had to change a lot of light bulbs at certain times, like around me. No.
Okay.
No, yeah, that's a constant thing.
What's a constant thing?
Oh, like there won't be like necessarily like an energy feeling, but there'll be like. So this happened in like what, December, something like that. We had the fire going. Oh, that's right, it was summer. And there'll just be like cold air that'll just blow through. Like he was sitting by me, and we were talking about it, and I'm like, "Oh, here comes one." And I still don't know what they are. And it actually went through him, and yeah, like wrapped around him, and there's like no energy to it or anything, but it's like a cold. It's like if you open a freezer and that cold blast first comes out. It's like that kind of coldness.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him right when it was going to happen, and that was the point where he kind of started going, "Oh, okay, you know some things."
Okay, when you get the bad energy or anything like that, you get a headache or something like that. Do you ever?
Only on the really serious ones, like like there's one spot I will not go back to, and I don't know, maybe if you guys been around this spot. They're up in Marble Mount. There's a really tiny church. I can't remember what road it's on. And I could not step foot in that church, that little building.
So in Marble Mount, there is a lot of cult type activity.
Yeah. For
lack of a better term. So yeah, a lot of negativity. There's a lot of stuff that goes up in Marble Mount. Based on the reclusiveness that area is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know pretty much the area you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember where it's at exactly, but if you ever found a photo of it, it's literally like the doorway is at most like 5'5" to get into the church, and it's literally the smallest building on this road. Because you'll come around a bend, and it's like 2 or 3 miles before you get to it, and it's all forest, and then all of a sudden, just in the random spot, there's this little tiny church with a pull-off.
Mm-hmm. Is it a chapel? Is it more like a child chapel?
Yeah,
I would say, yeah.
Yeah, that's the Rest Stop Chapel. I know what you're talking about. It's right by the river.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes. Because I camped at the campground just not far from that. That's like a resort type thing.
I know right what you're talking about.
Yeah, and that, like, I could not. Everyone else that was with me could walk in there, do whatever, but as soon as I hit the doorway, it was like I just started getting a massive, like, migraine and nauseated. And then as soon as we left that area, it was fine.
Yeah, yeah. This is a white building with a high arch. Yeah, okay.
It's
looks like an old-fashioned.
It's like a baby church.
It's a baby chapel.
Yeah,
it's a baby church.
Yeah, it's a baby chapel. Yeah. That's what it was meant for. Some child that was passed. That's what I'm seeing about it. So, yeah. Interesting.
All right, so we're coming close to our first break. When we come back, we are going to start talking about the dangers of the paranormal, and that'll answer a lot of Daniel's questions. Then we'll be talking about grounding and shielding and protection measures you can take. Third hour. So.
All right, so we'll be right back.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Welcome back to S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
And welcome back to S4 for our second hour, and we're going to start talking about the dangers of the paranormal. So honestly, about 80% of your dangers are not paranormal related, they are mundane. The other 20% is things like attachments, spirits scratching you, and we're more gearing towards...
Tetanus.
Oh yeah, that comes into the protection side. Make sure your vaccinations are up to date. Because if you walked into, say, Northern State Dairy and you step on that rusty nail...
Ouch. Not one. There's one specific
or put one through your hand.
Right? But honestly, most of what we're going to be talking about tonight is common sense, which I think most people are lacking these days. So, first off, going to the scene. So, what's the weather like? And we're just briefly talking about these because, some of these topics are showing themselves, such as winter driving. So, is it wintry out? Yeah, okay, you want to make sure your vehicle's ready to go.
Do you have a spare tire?
Do you have a spare tire, But again, we've talked about these topics on the show before. You can look in the archives where we actually talk about winter safety. So we're not going to really go over that. Now, on the paranormal side, and Barry can attest to this, many spirits, when you've been in this field for a while, they know you're coming.
Oh,
so
yeah, they do.
You might not be able to contact your client. The phone won't go through, the internet won't go through. These are, so while I'm talking about this now, in 2 weeks, because we have a roundtable next week, but in 2 weeks, we're going to be talking more about the types, what constitutes a paranormal emergency. And we'll be talking about some of the Fae. We'll be talking about the spirit types, the entity types. Why is Bigfoot a threat? Why are aliens a threat? What constitutes an emergency that you actually call a team in for? That'll be in 2 weeks. So tonight, it's really geared towards the team. So weather condition is something you need to pay attention to, especially if you're going Bigfoot hunting. But we're talking about Bigfoot, later on. Because what constitutes a danger with Bigfoot hunting? I've talked about this on the show before. Most of these ass clowns that want to go Bigfoot hunting watch the TV show. And TV shows are great, don't get me wrong. They're great for entertainment, not for the educational value, because there is no educational value to watching Ghost Adventures or Mountain Monsters. There is none. You know what? The little guy that's going Bigfoot hunting, he's got a whole camera crew, a paramedic, a survival expert in the background. So before you put on your khaki shorts and get your camera out like you see on TV, you need to have some survival training. You need to have a very good medical kit and be armed. Not for Bigfoot, but you might encounter the pissed off bear because she's got cubs, or the cougar, but we'll get to that. So weather conditions. Whether you're going in the mountains Bigfoot hunting or you're going to a client down the street that's got a ghost problem, know the weather conditions. Can you get there safely? Piss poor planning on your part is not the client's problem. So, yeah. Like I said in the beginning of the show, paranormalsafety.com is a great reference. And that's where a lot of my mundane information actually is coming from for tonight's show. Next thing, know your team. What medical conditions do your team members have? Now, when we had Forest Moon Paranormal, the team running, some of them were a little reluctant to share their medical problems, and understandable. But if you have an allergy to molds, if you have back problems, if you have something that's going to affect you on an investigation, that's something the team needs to know.
Especially if you have something that requires an EpiPen or
right.
anything like that. Let at least two people that you're going with know where you pack it.
Next thing kind of goes with a code of conduct. Every team should have their own code of conduct. If you're drunk, if you're high, if you're sick, you shouldn't go, because you're a problem for the team. You're a problem for the client, and you're a problem for yourself. Because if you're inhibited in any way, shape, or form, you took some Theraflu, you're susceptible to an attachment. You're susceptible to an attack. You're the weak link. Next thing, know your client. Does your client have a medical condition that might be causing the paranormal activity? Does your client have a criminal background? You never know what you're walking into if you're going to a client's home. Are you walking into a domestic violence issue? Is the neighborhood this client's house in on a criminal interactive map? And you can find them on any sheriff's website. Look at the crime scene, not crime scene, but the interactive crime maps, and know what neighborhood you're going into. You walk into a client's home, you find your entire team's car got stripped while you're inside. You walk in and you get shot. Know what you're walking into. Situational awareness is the next thing. When you knock on the door, do you smell alcohol? Do you is there any evidence of foul play? Do you need to get law enforcement involved? We've had there were 2 cases we actually had CPS involved because it wasn't paranormal. It was an abused child, and they actually had a camera on the child from the bruising that the spirit was causing, which in all reality was actually the parent. So this isn't a safe field. Human nature, what it is. Human nature, what it is. You don't ever know what you're walking into, whether it's a business or a client's home. I'm not even going to go into. So if you're going into something like Northern State, Waverly Hills, an old abandoned anything to do an investigation, look at the structure before you walk in. Is it about to fall down? Watch where you're stepping. Slips, trips, and falls. Go ahead.
Stay out of those abandoned houses that you find in the woods somewhere, because they can be very treacherous. The floors can go out from underneath you, stairs, all of that type of stuff. You mentioned the sanitariums, all those things. You have to be prepared to go in there, because what you're going to be dealing with is totally different in a lot of different ways. So, just like Eric said, this is not for the weak of heart. This is not your weekend warrior type stuff, because you can really have other things happen to you that you're really not looking about. A lot of these old buildings have asbestos in them. A lot of them have black mold. You're inhaling that stuff. You've got to keep your presence around you all the time when you're in these things, because you're setting up your equipment. You're doing these things, and and God forbid you get into some place that's got bed bugs or something like that. You sit down and gosh, you take it home, and then you got that too. I mean,
you don't want to take bed bugs home. They're almost worse than attachment, because they don't go away.
Right, exactly.
And I will put this way to you: if it says private property, do not enter, and you have no permission from the people that own the property to enter it, stay the hell off of it.
So locally, Devil's Tower, for example. Devil's Tower is private property. There are deputies that actually patrol and go check out Devil's Tower to keep kids from partying out of it, let alone a paranormal investigator.
Yeah. If it's private property, aren't they trespassing?
They are.
Those bastards.
And the same thing with graveyards. I mean, graveyards are not open all night long.
Well, you're absolutely right. Most graveyards are actually closed to paranormal investigation, and it's paranormal investigators that ruin that, because there's actually a local team here in Washington State that went and vandalized and got drunk on their little investigations and ruined it for everybody. They ruin it for everybody. They give everybody in the paranormal a bad name, and a lot of these teams give people a bad name anyway, because they're the weekend warriors that walked into a client's home who's expecting help and run out screaming. Well, now who the hell they call? These are supposed to be the quote-unquote experts that are going to clear out whatever's going on, and they just freaked out and ran out. Well,
yeah, it's amazing how many people do residential things. They're saying, okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to go verify a haunting for you.
Yep.
Well, you can verify a haunting, but most of the time, the people who are having those teams in want them to do something about the problem they're having.
Right. They want to clear it.
If you're not there, stay away from it, because the worst thing that can happen is you stirring more stuff up and making it more active.
Yep.
Eric and everybody on the team over there will be able to tell you that it's nothing worse than following somebody else around, or what they've done, or what they have stirred up. A lot of times, even when we go into a place, we have to tell our clients, look, after we review the evidence, we'll be back, but you may have a day or two that is really hard because they're going to be PO'd.
Yep.
Who are these people?
There is nothing worse than having to clean up another quote unquote paranormal team's mess.
Yes.
Because they didn't know what the hell they were doing.
Yeah, well, it's because now you don't know what to expect. Because if you go in there and you see it firsthand, a lot of people stir up stuff that shouldn't even be stirred up.
No. And you cause more damage than it's worth. You walk into a client's home, you see something, you freak out, you run away. Now you've confirmed to the client that, yeah, there is something there. And, it must be god-awful because this team ran out. So now it's pissed off. Like Barry said. So now it's going to be even worse. And not only is it going to be worse, but now the client's even more freaked out because they're even more terrified because now they've got confirmation from the so-called experts. And, I can't tell you how many clients we've had that were actually staying in hotels because the situation was so bad in their home.
Right, or sleeping in one room, or sleeping somewhere that, that seems like the activity is not bad. Right, or in a car, or all this stuff, because, this is serious stuff, folks. And, there are a lot of people out there that do great jobs. And if it's what you want to do, but there are also teams that will not even do residentials because you do not know what you're getting into. I mean, if you go to these pay hunts and everything else, and normally they're pretty safe. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, someone may scratch you, do something like that to you. But when you walk into a residential home, you don't know what you're dealing with. And you have to be prepared to see and deal with it all. And most of the time, and I don't know if your experience is, Eric, but if you're going to find something nasty, you're going to find it in a residential home.
Oh, most of the time, absolutely.
Yeah.
To also add to that, I feel that there may even be some beings or spirits that are more friendly at first that are misconstrued as being something more evil, that once that someone else comes in there and disrupts their pattern of being, that spirit could also get upset that it was misunderstood.
There's mimic spirits.
You're absolutely right with that too, because when you die, you don't change your ideologies, your views. When you're an asshole, when you're alive, you're going to be an asshole as a spirit.
When you're dead.
And if you were Catholic, or if you weren't Catholic, so if you weren't Catholic and this this team brings in a Catholic priest, you're going to piss off the spirit because they weren't Catholic. They might be atheist. You don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't know. And the other part about it is that you have to look at the situations that you're into, because there's so many different things. I mean, when you're dealing with a spirit, if you have an old spirit that dies when it's 90, it may appear at its, it may have his favorite year. He may think, hey, I really looked good when I was 50. Mm-hmm. And you're going to see him as 50, okay? And you're going to, because that's the way, if you do see him, that's the way he's going to present himself. Children who die younger and everything else, they don't have that opportunity. They're going to be between a certain age. Older folks can. Also, it's very prevalent that a lot of the spirits, what's the first thing that happens when we go into a house? You'll hear children or you'll hear a child. It doesn't mean that that's a child because of the fact that it could be someone mimicking a child to get your security down so you think that it is.
But let me clarify.
Just kind of like what Daniel said.
Let me add to that, though, because there's so many out there that think children can't be spirits. Yes, they can.
Oh, yeah.
There's too many out there that believe that spirits, or without children, go straight to heaven, for example.
I don't believe you.
Right.
Huh?
I don't believe you. You said if you're an asshole in life, you will be an asshole in person.
Right.
All children are demons. Therefore.
Oh, you killed me over here.
I'm just saying.
But, you know, too many people take too much credit to their ideology. I get that, but that's fine. Right. But I want to clarify that, yes, children can be spirits. Children can be stuck here, and some spirits are children. Yes, I agree with you.
They've passed and gone over, but they can come back. You know, that's the weird thing. People are stuck in their beliefs that, okay, you're sleeping the dead, you're sleeping Christ, whatever, you're going to heaven, you never get to come back here. No, I mean, we have crossover mediums that will deal with family members to help them go along, and spirits show up. Grandma, if you're going through a rough time, you may have conversations with your grandma or know that she's there. You may smell her favorite perfume in your house. You know, that's the stuff that happens because they're there to guide you and to help you.
Well, the thing is, too, if kids died and the parents are still alive, then the parents are very likely to get visited by their children.
Exactly.
So, absolutely.
Also, adding to that, because when you brought up with the religion, there could also be beings that are there. If they're causing an issue for the tenants that are there, it could be based off of how their religious views were when they were alive. If someone who had an extreme religious view who lived there years previous, and they get someone who's more newer, alternative, or feel like that spirit feel like they're being disrespectful to that house that they made, or what give you, could also amplify what the entity will do.
Yeah, and also remember, it's on the same line that all spirits out there are. If you're dealing with ancients, there wasn't any Christianity or anything else back at that time. They are ancient, and they have those powers and those beliefs. So don't go in there throwing certain stuff that is not going to work because they don't believe in it. They don't even know about it. That's when your druids and your other things start coming through, and that's where you've got to deal with that too. I mean,
exactly.
You have to be open-minded. You have to be. If you're not, then, and not so open-minded your brain falls out, but you've got to be open-minded, because there are so many possibilities and so many things that can happen and go on, and Eric is big into safety. We're all big into safety. You've got to have a safety kit. You never know what you're going to run into, what you may bump into. Because you're walking around in the dark. Twig can come up, poke you in the leg, you're going to start bleeding, you better have a Band-Aid.
That's going to come into the third hour. What do you pack?
Yeah, exactly.
I want to talk about weapons real quick. So, do you take a firearm into a client's home? I don't believe so. The only time we use firearms when Cole and I investigate is we will take weapons in the mountains, like I said before. Yes.
Or into the bank. I mean, what?
Oh, yeah, right, exactly.
The only
to make the withdrawal.
The only weapon I do carry when I go into a client's home or just a normal investigation is a tactical knife, because it can be used as a utility tool or as a weapon if I need to. But firearms, I do draw the line on that, because some people your client might not be comfortable with guns, and that's fine. That's their right.
Well, it's their home.
Right.
You respect
Absolutely.
their home in the way that they respect their
Absolutely.
home. Yeah.
Right. That's another thing. Respect is so important. It's to the spirits and to the homeowner.
Your weapon's not going to be effective on anything in the paranormal.
No.
Right.
So why are you carrying it? You have a criminal issue going on. Well, you know what? You should have known about that before you went. You should have done a background check on your client, potentially. At least know what like I said before, what the neighborhood was like. And you might want to have a list of law enforcement, of the health department, the fire department. 911 works, but, some of our listeners are international. So have a listing for emergency phone numbers for your law enforcement, your fire department, for monoxide reports, the health
definitely
department.
poison control.
Poison control.
Yeah.
I suggest you carry all those phone numbers in your investigation kit.
If not saved in your phone under whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So a lot of this can be alleviated by doing your background, your historical records. What happened in the home before you investigate? Is there anything in the news? Is there anything in historical records?
And never, ever go to an investigation without telling someone outside of the investigation where specifically you are going.
You are at.
Absolutely. So I'm a firm believer, and I carry this from the Army, of the buddy system. In the Army, we don't go anywhere alone anyway. We always have a battle buddy. And I carry this over here, in that you should never be investigating by yourself, ever.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Even telling someone where you're going aside, somebody not part of the team should know where you're going, but you always take your team. You don't ever go on an investigation alone.
No.
So when you're dealing with a haunting, what are some of the things you can encounter in a home or a haunted location? Mold. Common mold. Common mold can cause asthma, can cause respiratory issues. It can cause allergic reaction.
And it can cause hallucinations depending on what type.
Depending on what type. You got black mold, you've got normal mildew or mold. Mm-hmm. And these could be a part of what's causing the paranormal activity. Mm-hmm. Because, like Kayla said, hallucinations. And that goes with the next thing is carbon monoxide. So we actually have a monoxide detector as part of our kit, thanks to NWPRG. They gave us one. But high levels of carbon monoxide in someone's home can cause hallucinations, the feeling of dread. Everything that you describe that's going on in the paranormal can be caused by carbon monoxide.
Yeah, so definitely check the mundane stuff before you assume.
Well, that's the thing about EMF. That's the first thing. We have things to do that. When you first walk in a house, you better get your base readings. You want to know. You want to go to the refrigerator. You want to go to the heaters. You want to go what's in the bedroom. Keep your eyes open and know what's going on. Right. When you're walking around the house, it may sound to you to be like you're nosy, but when you're looking at pictures on the wall or anything like that, or books on the shelf, look to see if they have shades of gray, if they have all these other types of if they have different books in there that are maybe contributing to something. Check
if their
that
house is painted in lead paint.
Right.
Right. Yes. There's so many different things that cause problems. EMF is one of the biggest problems.
Right.
People will move fans close to their bed, and they sleep in there, and as they're laying in bed, they hallucinate. EMF causes all that. It causes headaches. It causes all of the things that can do. So you're always debunking while you're walking through the house, and you're talking to the client about saying, well, maybe you ought to move that away from your bed a little bit because that's way too much EMF. And you know what all this stuff causes. I mean,
that was actually next on my list, was electrical conditions, high EMF, etc.
yeah, I'm sorry.
You also need to know, okay, so like when we're talking about the EMF readings and we're talking about electronics and different things by the bedpost, the other thing is if a person uses a CPAP machine or any kind of breathing devices or anything like that, you want to make sure that they're cleaning and filtering them, because the different spores that can build up inside of those things can also cause different hallucinations and different issues for them.
And now they're breathing it in.
Yep.
So, and really all of this could be answered, a lot of this could be answered before the investigation with your pre-investigative questionnaire, which the FMP pre-investigative questionnaire is 9 pages.
Yes.
Because we actually go into... Well,
many of them are.
We actually go into, and the only part I haven't added, and I'm going to add here soon, is the cryptid side, but I actually have a UFO and abduction section in the questionnaire.
Right.
But, if you know what their belief system is, if you know what their occupation is, you can answer a lot of these questions.
Has the house ever been blessed before? Has it been cleansed? Has it been, who else has been there? Have you had another team in?
Too, is the age of the home that you're going into.
Yeah.
Because certain building materials were very common in certain years. Yes. Asbestos, lead-based paints, different things like that we don't use anymore for a reason.
Right, exactly. But, it's all about your research also. And you want to know what's going on in that house. When you go do title searches, I mean, anybody can go down and search a title. And you can take it back all the way to there. If you start seeing weird things where people sell the house every 2 years or something else, then you're pretty aware that maybe something weird's going on here.
Well, and when you're walking,
or if they have a lot of suicides, or if there's something that's happened like that,
look for patterns.
Yeah,
patterns, exactly.
So when you're walking in and you're doing your first assessment, take a look at the library they've got. Take a look for signs and sigils. And I'm going to bring this up, and it's a hot topic for some. But if you see a Ouija board, if you see tarot cards, if you see any kind of divination that they've been doing, that's not a bad thing. Absolutely not. And, I got into this discussion on another group here last week, as a matter of fact, because they were saying, oh my God, all Ouija boards are demonic and evil. No, they're not. They're no different than your SP7. Do you use an SP7 in an investigation? Then why are you talking shit about Ouija boards? It's the same channel.
You're exactly right. The thing about a Ouija board is that you are using it in your house, and it also has a way to be able to open a doorway. All these things, when clients start they watch TV. A lot of the clients watch TV,
right?
And what do? They go out and buy a ghost box, and they start using it in their house. Well, it's opening up that house to spirits. Ouija boards open that house up to spirits.
It's opening up a portal is all it's doing.
Portal. Exactly. And when we go in and use them, we're using them to get the answers and everything else. We're going to be there to fix the problem. So whatever it happens, we're going to take care of it anyway.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I look for personally is crossed mirrors.
Oh, big deal. Big deal.
And a lot of the old, mine included, but a lot of the old school in the bathroom, the medicine cabinet has those those doors that they're trifold opening, and they all have the mirrors face each other. That opens the doorway. It can. Mm-hmm. Just because you just because you open both doors up and the mirrors face each other doesn't mean something's going to come through. It can open up a doorway. Doesn't mean it does.
It can. Yeah, but it's the big deal. I mean, we've been to a lot of houses, and the first thing we say is, you got to move that mirror or cover that mirror. Mm-hmm. You got a mirror over here, and you got one right here, and it allows it's an opening. It's way through. It's a fast way through.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
And it's learning your craft. It's learning everything. That's the more years you spend in it, the more you get to see and the more you get to know. These are the important things that experience teaches you.
Also knowing if a person has bought something recently, like from Goodwill or from a yard sale or any of these types of things. Like, what's brand new in your house? What have you gotten recently?
Antique stores, the worst.
What did you get around the time that these things started happening?
Well, and again, that goes right back to your pre-investigative questionnaire. That should answer that. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
That's part of what we ask. What changed before the event started happening? Did you buy anything new from an antique store, or anything used you brought into your home?
Or did somebody give you a gift recently?
Right.
That's bad too. I mean, you have to. Did you get a gift from someone recently? If it falls into the time frame, then you definitely have to look at it.
Well, the other thing that I've noticed,
voodoo dolls, all those things.
Yeah, the other thing that I've noticed that a lot of teams don't actually ask about is when I go into a place or when I see something and there's live plants. If one's over in one area are doing really well and in another area they're half dead and they look really weird, or if they have always been really good at gardening and their plants started dying recently, things like that you got to take into account too.
I'm going to look at Faye for that though.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And also
well, Sherry was asking about Faye earlier, and we'll be talking a little more about that actually in a couple weeks because it's part of Paranormal Emergencies. But, too many teams out there, they look for the spirit or the demon. They don't even think about the possibility that actually Faye could be causing an issue.
All the time. Water spirits can be really nasty, too. I mean, it's like, strange.
Right.
But, all of those things are all part of the important things that you have to do when you're dealing with residential people. I mean, it like you said, Eric, it goes back to your first questionnaire, your pre-investigation, the talking on the phone. If you do a pre-investigation, whatever, we like to try to do a pre-investigation. I want to know where I'm going before I get there.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the spirits are going to know it anyway. I mean, we are marked in that way, and I call it marked, but they know us, and they'll even mention your name when you walk in. You'll, they may know you, they may call you names, they may call you anything. So, don't think that some of these things are extremely intelligent.
No.
And also, when you're talking on the phone, if you talk to the client on the phone, tell them or grab a recorder and record the conversation, because chances are, if there's a spirit there, it's going to talk to you. And it's talking to you through the phone. You'll hear things on that. And that's going to give you an idea of what's going on. It's just no different than an EVP. And remember that they have the ability to travel. Don't be stupid to think that they can't just go down that phone line and find you, because they can't.
And when you've been in this field for a while, you make enemies. There's spirits that know you by name. They know where you live, which is why our entire property is completely shielded, based on the work we did for years. And you're absolutely right. It came to the point where everybody on the team, whether they were actually travelers or just monitoring, everybody had to be grounded in shield, because we did find that spirits could come through your computer and actually attack you. We had team members that got attacked. Absolutely. Electronics in general are open open channels for paranormal activity to come through.
Yeah. Same thing with aliens. Same thing with government agencies. You can step into a lot of stuff that you may not be aware of.
Absolutely.
So
let's talk about the paranormal dangers. So the paranormal dangers, you can be attacked. You can be scratched by pissed off spirits or negative entities. You can walk out with attachments. So the easiest way to identify an attachment, you usually have a pain in your lower back or on the base of your neck. That's usually where they attach.
Yeah. And when they're on if you feel that pressure on the back of your head or pushing down on you or in your shoulder blades, that's normally where they attach. They love to put a hook in you, what we call a hook, and they hook to you.
So they hook to you, and you will walk out and go home, and you will still have the attachment. So what it can do also is it'll change your personality. What you normally did, you don't do anymore. You were peaceful, now you're aggressive. And we've had so many cases where people thought they were possessed. No, they just had an attachment. We removed it, and they were fine. But an attachment can have the same symptomology of demonic possession.
Exactly.
So getting into the removal, oftentimes we would actually remove them and put them into crystals, use crystals as a containment, and throw the crystal into the ocean, salt water, whatever, or even bury it. So you can have spirit attachments. You just send them to the light. You can have negative entity attachments, which that's a little harder, but they can get removed. Usually through a medium, usually through a sensitive is communicating with them.
You can also take objects home. Sometimes you find an object that is a haunted object. And when you do that, you want to make sure that it's bagged and sealed. You wrap. We always use red ribbon. We wrap ribbon around it 3 times just to ensure that nothing happens with it. And then take it and then expose it. And I'll let you talk more about exposing it. Some people will give them to people that have haunted relics. They do quite a lot of things with them. They have it cleared and everything else a lot of times. So
we had the issue too with soldiers in Iraq that were taking artifacts from Iraq home that had jinn attachments.
Jinn, yeah. a jinn is really, people don't think about jinn. Investigators don't think about jinn.
No, there's
many people have
investigators don't think about.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I prefer.
And boy, you talk about tricksters and you talk about bad things. The jinn is a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Not all of them.
Some of them are fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of them are fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Robin Williams was a GD, Kayla. Calm down.
I love the concept of jinn. Okay, I think that's awesome. But that's just me, and I'm weird. So
and to dispel that myth too, you do not have to be Muslim or Islamic to actually remove a jinn. We've done it.
Right. Exactly.
Very, very. Just like you don't have to be a Catholic priest to remove a demon. We've done that too. But
we have a Catholic priest on our team,
right?
And sometimes it works out quite well. And he's a certified exorcist for the Catholic Church. There are times when, we can do them, and there's times that other people on the team can go and clear houses and do the things that we do, and it's fine. It's a lot about the residential owner.
It's comfort of the client as well as comfort of the spirit or attachment or entity.
Right, exactly. And the big deal about it is you also got to remember that when you're dealing, with this stuff, it is very odd and strange how when you walk into a house, if it's dark, just like they never open the windows, they never do anything. Chances are there's something not right there. You've got to get light in the house. You got to open it up. We tell a lot of clients about that. And then you have the emotional problems with people that can stir up their own things.
Well, and that's also the difference between if it is demonic, and I want to clarify, true demonic activity is highly rare. Right. But you're going to have lower level demons more active than the upper level. The upper level are they don't attack per se. They are more of your. They're the ones. They're going to make you commit suicide.
They're good at delegating to the lower levels.
Not even that, but they play with the emotional level. They don't sit there and scratch you. They don't sit there and make shit move. They don't attack you physically. They attack you emotionally to the point where you start getting more and more depressed.
Right.
And eventually commit suicide.
They make you vomit split pea soup.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and those
lower level. Lower level are parasites.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because sometimes, you hear the stories about legions and everything else. Well, high entity demons are very rarely there. They may be controlling an area, but they have legions, and some of these legions, they have 10,000. Legion is 10,000 souls, So they can use a lot of different things, and then you're dealing with these underlings and everything else. If you are dealing with a true demon, you're going to have, look, folks, you can get killed there. That is without a doubt. That can do bodily harm. You can be picked up and thrown. You can be, and they are the ones that like to follow you home, cause you to wreck, push you downstairs, do all kinds of stuff.
Which is why it's always important after you do a clearing or you do any of these things to not only just do it and leave, but also do the follow-up and make sure that they know how to ground and shield and protect themselves from it as well.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And, and sometimes we just go in and tell people, you've got to take salt baths. You've got to do some of these things.
Generally speaking, when I get home, I usually do jump in the shower and take a salt shower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Before and after. I usually cleanse.
And sometimes if I'm saging, I stand over it and I sage myself. I sage people that we were with, So we do our own cleansing.
We'll discuss that in the third hour because I do want to clarify that. You know what, folks? And I see it in groups all the time. Somebody says, I got problems, I got this going on. And so many damn people say, you need to sage. No.
Sage, yeah.
No. Sage will not remove it.
Yeah.
Sometimes all you're doing is pissing it off.
To be fair, I also highly recommend a certain plant. But mostly because after you smoke it, you're not going to give a fuck what's in your house.
Oh, God.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, true.
Milk of the puppy.
And you're going to get the spirit stone, too, and he's not going to give a damn either.
Exactly.
So what sage does do is keeps it out. You need to find out what the root is before you just go saging.
Yeah, because sometimes all you're going to do is piss it off, and then it's just going to be worse.
Or it's going to like the sage. There are spirits that like these things. So you've got to know the difference.
And
we put extra things. We put extra things in sage sometimes. We'll put rosemary.
Absolutely. Usually I throw some dragon's blood resin. I throw some rosemary mix, and along with sage, and we have a complete concoction we use.
Kinds of stuff. Yeah, because some of them thrive on that. You can burn sage, and they're going to go, "Oh, baby, I feel great." Oh.
Right. Absolutely.
And remember, there's different kinds of sage.
Yes, there is.
Bless you.
There are a bazillion different kinds of sage and different kinds of
right,
things.
And certain sage does different. We use, when I'm dealing with spirits, I use with motherboard sage a lot. Other people always seem to have white sage with them. Salt's great. There's all kinds of different things you can do. Black salt. You make your own black salt. Do those kind of things. So.
I like sea salt because it's more natural.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like also with the talking about like how some of the spirits would like certain things like that. There are a lot of fae too that in older religions, and like you were speaking about druids earlier, they would offer certain types of mineral or foods or something of that matter. So that could even be them thinking that you're offering that there for them to stay.
Absolutely.
Right. Absolutely. Great point, Daniel. Great point. And it's the same thing, with as you're dealing, we live in a very different world, and sometimes you're walking into people that may be practicing voodoo, Santeria, something like that, totally different religions. They're feeding them. Some people feed them blood. Some people feed. You just don't know what you're getting into. I'm telling you. I've seen so much. I know you guys have seen a lot too. But it's just amazing.
Well, and people don't know. People assume something, so they will assume that it's a spirit, or they'll assume that it's this or that, and it can be a totally different entity. And it
can.
There's a lot of time where somebody will assume that it's a spirit attachment
Everything's
or
a
something,
spirit or a demon,
and then it
Nothing
ends up
in between.
being some form of fae,
right?
Or it ends up being some form of shadow. Or there's so many different things.
Or it winds up being carbon monoxide.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, come on. The last thing I want to bring up is when you're doing your initial assessment, and again, your investigative questionnaire might answer it, might not. But you walk into someone's home, look at the library. Do they have pagan books? Do they have what's their belief system? Do they have a 14-year-old that might be doing a Wiccan ritual in their room?
And they just don't.
And they're not doing it right.
Ask if they have security cameras.
That too.
Yep.
And I firmly believe this is where symbology comes into what paranormal teams should be taking. Because I've seen too many times where I'll look at what a paranormal team is doing, and they'll walk in. There's a basic pentacle with a circle around it, and they'll say, "Oh my God, there's a Satanist in here." No, a pentacle is a symbol of protection. The 5 points of the star are earth, air, fire, water, spirit. It is a protective emblem. It's not satanic. Yeah. If it's averted, absolutely it's satanic.
Right. It's averted.
But
exactly.
That's where I think a lot of misinformation and a lot of closed-minded groups come in, and they completely destroy a case because they have no common sense. They don't know to look things up.
Well,
right.
It's just like if the client picked up a wreath or something that they thought was really cool, and they put it on their wall, and they didn't realize that it was actually a symbol for this or that or what.
Right.
People don't really know these things. Your average everyday person, if they think something's cool and they want to put it on their wall, they're going to do it. They don't realize that there's actual meaning behind the symbol, or what it means, or how it works, or anything.
They actually invited Artemis into their home.
Right.
And, Artemis is only a deity, but she's going to be kind of pissed off because, you're not honoring her, and, there you go. So we have about 10 minutes. Let's talk about UFOs. So what are some of the dangers with, what?
Can I mention just one more
really
quick thing? Is also check the surroundings and the different types of plants that they have outside. Because there are specific plants with different types of spores and stuff that can cause all kinds of issues as well.
So, one thing I do, as soon as I get the pre-investigative questionnaire again, is I will actually Google map the address that we're going to.
That's the first thing we do, because you will see if there's a cemetery, old things sitting around, sinkholes.
What's in the area.
Yeah, whatever's around the area, because that is most important.
I've had cases where there was a whole circle of dead trees on the client's property.
Right.
Well, that could have been a UFO.
Well, I've got one of my friends had me come over to their house because they weren't feeling very well, and they were just like, I don't understand why I'm always sick when it's summertime and I'm out here doing this. And they had a whole bunch of noxious weeds growing in their backyard, and I'm like, well, right there. That's your, this is
like
your
right
problem,
now,
you know?
the cottonwood spores are coming out. So right now, everybody's getting sick.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Look at the environment.
Yeah.
So let's shift over to UFOs. It's going to be real quick. There's there are dangerous UFOs. Obviously, radiation being the first one. If you have any kind of a UFO close encounter sighting, you want to have a radiation meter. Something we need to pick up for our team is actually a Geiger counter.
We
don't have one yet. Yeah, and don't touch the UFO. Please do not. That's the stupidest thing you can do.
Touch it, try and drive it. But remember, always figure out where your blinkers are.
Right.
The other threat with UFOs is other humans. You don't know who else is chasing this UFO.
With a gun. Gonna shoot.
Right.
And then, of course, the government, because the government does not like competition.
That is 100% right.
They might be chasing it too, and you see a line of black SUVs, you might want to back off, get the hell out of the way, just take your picture and go home.
Exactly.
And then this one I just had to throw in. It's rare. It's probably not going to happen, but the chance of an alien attack. You have a landed UFO, they might just snatch you up because you don't know what race it is. They might want a snack. They might have landed because they were hungry, and you ain't coming home.
And some of the areas that you're going to, and make sure that you're wearing. The biggest thing about your evidence collection too. Be smart about that. Put on a little suit. Put booties over your shoes. You don't want to contaminate areas, Right.
We don't have one of those either.
Yeah, have rubber gloves. Tweezers, all that kind of stuff. You make a to-go bag up, which we're going to talk about the third hour, so that you have these things with you. It's just the same thing with Bigfoot.
Do not take the alien home. Don't take
exactly.
Don't take the alien home. You might have a virus.
I have worse ones.
Right. But the same thing with Bigfoot. You don't want to go out as, I've been in places where we're not expecting to see Bigfoot, and I don't have my stuff, or we see a sighting or something, or it happens and we see one. And it's like in the middle of the day, you go out there and you see a track. Well, gosh dang, I don't have my damn stuff with me to do a plaster casting or anything like that.
That's where a picture does work. But you want to make sure you put a quarter, or if you have a ruler, but you should actually have you should have a small ruler in your evidence collection kit anyway.
If nothing else, put at least 4 foot next to it. Come on.
Because
the thing about it is that you can buy these photo things from forensic shops,
right?
7 inches long, that are like $2.50. Man, maybe the highest $7. Invest in one of those because it's going to help you out a lot. When you're taking a picture of something, make sure that it is always something else in the object so you understand the size relatively to it.
Yep. If it's close, don't take a phone call.
Right.
Yeah. No, I'm not kidding.
I'll also add to that. If you do get a piece of evidence, you want to be very careful handling it because you don't want to either like you're saying, come in contact with radiation or another disease, but you also don't want to contaminate that piece of evidence for something to be investigated further.
Well, that's why we have sterile tweezers, gloves, and bottles to put it in.
Right.
We have an evidence collection kit.
Right.
That is
some stuff you can't put in a glass bottle. You need to put it in a plastic bag, or you put in a paper bag.
Right.
There's so many different things that you have lunch bags with you. You have all kinds of different things in a kit. It's just being prepared on what to do, you know.
Mm-hmm. So talking about cryptids. Cryptids, most of your cryptids are in the woods. So you got mountain issues, you got weather, environment, wildlife. You know where you're going. And again, going back to earlier in the show,
ton of safety issues.
Make sure somebody knows where you're going and don't go by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
TV doesn't teach you preparedness. At least know how to use a map and compass.
And the
worst thing about it is,
everybody that's going out into the woods should always have some form of a GPS device on them.
Yep.
Just in case.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, you do not understand. If you ever been out in the woods before, if you've ever had the feeling of being lost in the woods, it is the most weirdest feeling that will ever come over you, and you won't think straight forever. You got to sit down and just stop, drop, and think, because you'll run all over that place, and you'll never know where you're at. You know,
well, that's
that's
where your trailing comes into effect too. Is you should always leave yourself breadcrumbs, especially if you're going off trail in any way, shape, or form. You always leave. You check your surroundings. You look at landmarks. You make sure that you are leaving your own landmarks. Not something that's going to screw up the environment or anything like that, but that's where you break a twig and you set it in a specific area so that you know that you passed this.
I have orange tape. I learned this in SAR, actually, search and rescue. When I was with SAR, we have orange tape that we'll tie to a tree as we go.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I wouldn't use actual breadcrumbs because the squirrel's going to really fuck up your day.
Right, Hansel and Gretel or not, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. And you never know, whatever's causing missing 411 may be hungry and be eating it as they're ready to using it as a snack before the main meal.
Before they get to you. Right?
They're like, ooh, breadcrumbs, I can make stuffing with this.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
So this is always a general rule that I carry with me anytime I go out into the woods, whether it be fishing, hunting, or looking for cryptids. As the 5 C's, as a few people in a different survival and preps call it, is you always carry a combustion device, be it a ferro rod or a lighter, matches, what have you. Cover like a tarp, blanket, something that can keep you warm, keep you out of weather.
That actually comes in the third hour.
Yeah.
But lastly, Bigfoot and other cryptids do not always like visitors. Remember that. This is where you might want to take a weapon with you. And when they start throwing rocks at you, you might want to back off and leave.
Right. They're going to give you some of them give you signals, others don't. And if you're chasing Dogman, remember, they're physically aggressive, and they may not give you a warning.
What humans need to understand in the first place is, cryptid aside, you are going into the woods. You are going into the wild.
In their backyard.
You're going into their home.
Yep.
That is where all these creatures live. Mm-hmm. That is where you got your wolves and you got your cougars and you got your bears and everything like that. And that is their home.
Yep.
It's also their hunting grounds.
Their territory. Yeah.
And some of them do like visitors because you're food.
Yep. Yeah. And again, know where you're going. Know there might be some history to that mountain range through lore that you might want to be a little more aware of than just going into a national forest. Look at Native American legend. Mm-hmm. White Horse Mountain, for example, is known as a superstitious mountain. Look at the lore and legend of certain areas that you're going into.
And
there's certain hollers that you don't want to go into. And if
don't do stuff you're not capable of doing. If you have never been rock climbing before, if you have never gone down into a cave system before, this is not the time to do it unless you have the proper people, the proper gear, and everything set up for trying this new thing out. You don't just do it because you see one.
No.
Right.
YouTube's not going to teach you how to do it.
There's only one Native American legend in this area, and he's sitting across from you. Don't even.
Yeah. And on that note, folks, it's time for our last break of the night. When we come back, third hour, we'll be talking about the protections, the preparations, the things you need to do to alleviate the hazards we just told you about for the last 2 hours.
And we'll be right back.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Welcome back to S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
And welcome back to S4 as we go into the protections and some of the gear that you should have with you when you go on an investigation that's not paranormal, but it actually protects you. First off is your health checkups. Know your own health. Know if you got asthma. If you got asthma and you're walking into an old environment, you have your inhaler with you. Have your shots updated. Things of that nature. Tetanus shots. Influenza shots. Whatever.
TB can live on a surface for like 35 years, guys.
Right? And if you're going into a TB ward of an abandoned hospital, it can still be there.
Yep.
So, again, that goes with knowing your environment, knowing where you're going, historical records, things of that nature. You know the risks of where you're going. So, something that actually ParanormalSafety.com brought up that I drink coffee. I don't stay hydrated. But stay hydrated. Drink water while you're on site. Before that,
there is water in coffee now.
That's true. There is. So I didn't drink water in Iraq. I drank so much coffee that I did stay hydrated.
And I definitely do get my 8 cups a day.
Right?
Yeah, buddy.
But according to ParanormalSafety.com, there is paranormal hangover, and it's caused by not being hydrated.
Oh, yeah. Well,
because
of
a certain adrenaline that pulses through your body while you're on investigation, endorphins and whatnot. By being on an investigation, that actually dehydrates you faster.
Yeah, but and also that is anytime that you're out in the woods and you're hiking or you're doing any kind of exerting exercise or any of that, you always want to stay hydrated. And you definitely want to wear sunblock if it's like 75 degrees and super sunny.
That's when the common sense comes in that so many people don't have anymore. And snow blindness. I mean, yeah.
Wear the gear for the weather.
There's environmental hazards that are more of a threat than a lot of the paranormal hazards are. So again, never investigate alone. Always use a buddy system. Somebody needs to know where you're going. Use hand sanitizer. A lot of these locations have bacteria on them that you're going to take home. Using hand sanitizer, and in the last a year and a half now, everyone's been pushed to use hand sanitizer anyway. It should be a no-brainer. N95 masks is what they recommend. They're a little harder to get and they're a little pricier to get now because of COVID. But they do recommend N95 masks. Me, I have an M40. That's a military mask. Great mask. It's got its own canisters that screw on, screw off. You change them out. Good for any chemical, biological hazard and any bacteria. Radiation and monoxide detectors should be a part of your gear. Geiger counter and a monoxide meter or detector. So when you're talking, so before we get to the paranormal protection, before you go in the woods, you should have a go bag. What?
Joe's having issues with his mic. Joe, are you here now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, you didn't get my quail.
How you doing, Joe? You've been
I sneezed earlier and no one's heard me for 2 hours.
We thought the quail got you.
Oh, man, they were everywhere.
The last thing we heard from you is, there's those damn quail. And then there goes Joe. Like, the 800-pound quail got him. Holy shit. So, yes, N95 masks, or a mask in general, just to keep spores out, just to keep, and I don't recommend cloth masks like we use today. Use hospital masks. They'll keep more spores and bacteria that might be in a haunted location, especially if it's an old building, out of your lungs. So before you go, at least know what edible plants might be in the area that you can live off of if you do get lost. Know how to read a map and compass at a minimum, or take a GPS. I don't recommend GPSs only because batteries drain. You might not get a signal for your GPS in some of the mountain areas. At least know how to read a map and compass and what direction you left out of. And with that, take a survival kit. And that's where your fire starters come in. Your water purification comes in.
A knife.
And
if you are by a river, hey, follow it.
Yeah. Always follow it downstream because it'll always take you to another, or a stream. Because a stream will lead you to a river. A river will lead you to civilization.
Yeah.
And like the saws on the back of knives are cool and all, but they really suck. You know what? They suck. There's no way around that.
What's that?
The saws on the back of the knives. Your best bet is a string knife or a string saw.
Finger saw.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because finger saws can actually start a fire with enough friction.
Yeah.
They are cheaply made. You don't want to cut a log up with it; it will break. But if you're cutting up a branch, you'll see smoke come up because it does actually start a fire. They make good fire starters. Carry a lighter, or at least know how to start a fire with a flint. A shelter, like Daniel was saying earlier, take a tarp with you. Emergency poncho, emergency blanket. Those are so small these days, they just fit in a pocket. And they'll keep you warm. I'm not saying you're going to get lost, but prepare like you are going to. That way you can survive comfortably if you do get lost. Weapons, so I do carry a 9mm if I'm in the mountains at a minimum. It's very weak against, say, a bear or a cougar, but it'll be enough, hopefully, to scare it away. If I'm really wanting, if I know I'm going into bear territory, I'll take my 308. Let's see here. So, anything to add, guys? Medical. Always have a good first aid kit. At least a bare minimum of Band-Aids, bacitracin, triple antibiotic ointment, something like that. A tourniquet for worst case. Take some antihistamine. Benadryl, some Tylenol. Your basic pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, take a wagon to carry all this stuff with, too.
All my stuff fits in a backpack.
Most of it, yeah, that's exactly. Put it in your to-go bag.
Yep.
Make sure you have everything to go. And as we were talking earlier, you have separate go bags. Ghost hunting has a separate thing. Use different things for different whatever you're after.
Honestly,
if you're, make sure that you have, dental mold, whatever you got to have. I mean, have 2 bags of that stuff hanging around, and take the water bottle. Take 6 ounces of water. Mm-hmm. Have something that you mix it with. Something you can shake up.
So I actually, on my mountain go bag, I actually have a tin cup that will act, for water, or I can actually throw it over, and Cole's going to shoot me here in a minute. But if you get the Folgers singles, it makes a great cup of coffee.
It does not. Yeah. It makes a crappy cup of coffee.
It does for me. It's good enough for the mountains. Okay. I don't pack a whole percolator unless I'm going camping.
Now, the one thing that I always carry with me when I'm going up into the woods, and it's really weird and most people don't think about it, is one of those cheap packs of glow sticks.
Yep.
Yeah. Because if your batteries do go out, if you need light to see something very specific or small or anything like that, those things will last for a whole night. You crack one, you can use it as a source of light, you can use it to keep things away, or you can use it as a marker.
Attach it to a tree as you go, so it actually makes a night marker so you can find the trail getting out after dark.
And if you get lost,
a road flare can come in real handy.
Mm-hmm. Well, that if you want to light the whole mountain on fire. But you'll definitely get help if you do want. Light the mountain on fire. You'll definitely get help.
If you're really, really lost.
Joe lives in California. The mountain's already on fire.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay,
right.
They're already burning.
When aren't they?
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Now, the other thing too, especially the areas that I do a lot of hiking and stuff is over in eastern Washington. Okay. And know where your ranger stations are.
Yep. Your fire towers, too.
Have it trapped out where you know where the closest ranger stations are, how far and in what direction, just in case.
So when you're talking lights...
there's something... You're talking about getting lost in the woods, and I heard a lot of good suggestions. Mm-hmm. But there's one thing that no one ever mentions when you're walking through the woods or going through the mountains. People have their maps, and they have their GPSs. And they're looking at this mountain and that mountain. A basic thing that no one ever thinks about is when you're walking along, stop every once in a while and turn around and look which way you came. And look at the area. Because when you're walking out of an area, it does not look the same as when you're walking in.
No, you're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
It'll just help you orient yourself.
But, I actually do that for other reasons, because what people don't think about while they're walking
along. To see what's behind you.
See what's coming up behind you. And I've taught my kids the same damn thing. When we're walking up Haystack Mountain, for example, I don't like the element of surprise. when it's attacking.
Always.
When it's coming up on me. If I need the element of surprise, oh, absolutely. You ain't gonna see me coming. But no, I've taught my kids the same thing. You always look behind you every few seconds just to make sure there's not a bear or a cougar stalking you.
Well,
exactly.
And when you are walking, especially over out in the woods, like in Eastern Washington and all that, you can follow your pole star, too. Mm-hmm. So if you know where the right stars are and where they're going to be located at what times,
right,
that's an easy way to get out of certain situations.
And ideally, you're out of there before it's dark anyway. If you're only going up Bigfoot, and don't get stuck in the mountain in the dark. It really sucks. Now, talking about that, so I usually have a headlamp or two in my kit, one in my pocket, one in my pack, easily accessible. I also have a miniature mag light. And look at the lumens. So you want high lumen when you're talking being up in the mountains. If you have the money to spend, go on the fire department sites, because the fire department flashlights, oh my God, they are made to penetrate fire. They are high lumens.
A good place to find those too is your local state surplus sale.
Right.
Well, you know, it's crazy, but I think I bought a 3,500 lumen flashlight. Looks like a gigantic mag light, but I bought it at Harbor Freight for $35.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And you talking about lighting up something? Whew.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it just beams it out. You know, you're going to see quite well with that kind of stuff. They are bulky. They're a little bigger, but they're well worth having.
Right. Especially in the mountains at night.
Yeah.
And know your exit plans, because if you are up there, even if you're up there with a group of like 5 different people, if somebody were to slip and sprain their ankle or break their leg or something like that, you have to know how you're getting the people out, too.
Have splint material in your first aid kit. So I'm a little above and beyond, or a little overboard when it comes to medical, but I have suture material. I have a lot more than your normal first aid kit, just because as a combat medic, that's what I carried. So it's something I'm used to. It's something I pack. It stays in my truck, along with multiple trauma kits that stay in my go bag, as well as my paranormal kit. So even if I'm going to, say, when we went to the hub, for example, I had a trauma kit in my ghost investigation kit, along with the evidence collection kit and the multiple tools we had. And it doesn't weigh much. I even got comments about, wow, that's a small backpack. Well, yeah, it's only a haunting investigation. This is a different bag than I carry if I'm going in the mountains. Pack your paranormal investigation kits, and like Barry said, you're going to have multiple kits. One for the mountains, one for your normal hunting.
Get some of the extra large zip
How about
ties.
a coach's
You have no
whistle?
idea how often those come in handy. The extra large zip ties?
Yep. Oh, I have zip ties in my go bag. So whistle, absolutely.
Carry
you
coach's whistle, yeah.
You should actually have a whistle in your car. And I've talked about this before in our disaster preparedness shows. On the off chance that you get covered up by a landslide, or the off chance that you actually go off and you're submerged, your horn might not work because your battery's not going to last forever. Having a whistle has that pitch that canines will hear, that searchers will hear. They've been documented that some whistles can be heard up to 2 miles away. So absolutely, and I have whistles in my go bag. Red Cross actually gives out whistles. So yeah,
if you're lost in a building or buried in a building,
you
might not be able to scream, but you could blow a whistle.
You can blow a whistle a lot,
and you will be found
with a lot less energy.
Now that's the
Right,
thing
exactly.
too, is that when you do go out into the woods, you're going out into the woods usually in a group of people, at least 2. Okay? So obviously each person's going to have their pack that they're taking with them. There are certain things that you don't necessarily need to double up on, but you need to make sure each of you have, and there's other things that you can have one in one person's pack, but save room for something else in yours.
Right. I don't carry a tent. I can make a structure faster than putting up a tent, realistically. Just because all I need is a few heavy-duty branches, a couple larger logs, and you can actually make your own structure that's just as comfortable as a tent. And more
so
natural.
Those stick structures they keep finding in the woods, that's you, Eric, right?
That is, absolutely.
Yes.
Other than the logs, the ones with logs that are about 20 foot tall, those are not me.
Those are me.
Those are Bigfoot. Or Cole.
Those are Cole.
Yep.
That's where your zip ties can come in handy, too. Seriously.
Not for logs.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I also carry, I recommend everyone carry at least 50 foot of paracord.
Small amount of mechanics wire.
Huh?
Small amount of mechanics
Yeah,
wire.
you get down a lot of this stuff you can actually get in the dollar store.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, what I won't recommend in the dollar store is your pharmaceuticals. Do not get Tylenol and stuff like that in the dollar store because it's been proven that a lot of stuff that comes from foreign countries and has,
That's the wrong content. In
people have
things.
found rat droppings and other stuff in dollar store pharmaceuticals because it is, you get what you pay for. Pharmaceuticals, I will pay the extra money at Walmart or wherever, Rite Aid, whatever, to get pharmaceuticals.
You get those from your local drug dealer.
That too.
Mm-hmm.
But as for
Bic lighters.
condone the use of drugs.
And always
we already
have-
talked about
Bic
fire
lighter
starting.
will save your life.
Yeah.
Yep.
And always have your medications with you.
Unless you're in the
If
water.
you're going out, you always have your medications
No.
with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so shifting topics. Let's talk about the paranormal safety. So paranormal safety, some teams, they'll say a prayer before they go in. A prayer is only as good as the faith you have in that prayer. You can say you're a Christian, you can pray to God, but if you really don't believe in it, it ain't going to work. You need to be devout in your faith or devout in your belief system for it to be effective. Just saying a random prayer that everybody says all the time are just words. You have to have faith in the words you're saying, or it won't work.
Well, that goes back to the whole intent behind. It's
Absolutely.
like you have to have intent behind everything that you do.
So, some people, they'll wear a cross. Some people wear a pentacle. Some people, make sure they're charged. Make sure they have intent behind them. They have that intention energy in them, and that will protect you. For us, we use black tourmaline. Cole uses tiger eye. It's really whatever stone calls to you, and whatever stone is effective for you.
I use blue agate.
There you go. So, grounding and shielding. A basic ground. And again, speaking this on the radio and actually doing it, it's whatever's comfortable for you, but a basic good grounding is take your shoes and socks off, go out in the grass, go out in your yard, and close your eyes. And you want to visualize a white energy that goes from the top of your head down through your body and into the ground. With your eyes closed. And, some people could do it. Some people are naturals at it. Some people, it will take practice. But you actually want to visualize this white energy that goes from the top of your head and through your feet, and visualize your feet turning into tree roots. Then you want to turn around, not literally, but visualize earth energy that comes up through your feet, fills your body, and fills the top of your head. That's grounding. It's natural energy. It's earth energy, and that will ground you. That will take all the negative energy before and after your investigation and keep you protected and grounded. So, for shielding, there's different, everyone's got different methods they talk about with shielding. Shielding, again, for some, it'll be a natural. For others, it will take practice. For me, it's, impossible. But, again, you want to close your eyes. You want to picture an energy bubble. And you want to develop that bubble. This is the energy bubble method. To me, I think is honestly the most effective for most. And it's not something you do one time and you just, I'm shielded. No, you're not. It's something you should do depending on how much negativity you're around. For a sensitive, I'd recommend it every 3 days or at least once a week at a minimum. Develop your shields. If you're around a lot of negativity, do it more than once a week. But for this, you want to close your eyes. You want to visualize a bubble of energy. You want to play with that bubble of energy with your hands. And you want to push it out. You want to basically visualize yourself inside a bubble of white energy. Sometimes it's blue energy. But you want to push it out around you. And you want to keep on working on that bubble of energy. Until you feel comfortable enough that it's a solid bubble. And it's something that's fluid. It goes with you everywhere you go. You're not going to step out of the bubble. It's a bubble that actually walks with you everywhere you go. You're walking in a bubble. And it's something you want to work on, like I said, sometimes 2 to 3 times a week. Once you feel confident that shield is effective, don't rely on it, build on it some more. Then there's the brick wall. Now, I don't recommend the brick wall because I think the brick wall method is weak, but I will bring it up. And this is where some can visualize building a brick wall around themselves, brick by brick by brick. And they put each brick in place until they're completely surrounded by this brick wall. And it's something they, for some it might work. But I think the energy bubble is the most effective and is the strongest. Any questions?
Would that be the same as a blinding white light? I always picture a blinding white light coming out of my chest and surrounding the whole entire area.
Pretty much.
Same thing?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Same
thing. Yeah, one of the things that we should discuss also is if you do have abilities on how to shut them off, you can't be an open switch in these places. You just can't go in all open and running all over the place. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to work at closing that down. Hiding that ability from some of these things. And if you're not open, you want to be open to a point, but you don't want to be all the way open. You want to be able to get the information that you need, but you don't want to be all the way open. And I always tell a lot of people it's pretty simple. I mean, it's like going, you have to set up hours with entities because most of these people have the same gifts. They will be tormented at night. They'll, spirits come to them all the time. And if you don't set up hours, it's just like, hey, look, you can come talk to me at this time, this time, this time. It's all the same way. Mm-hmm. You set up the rules because, and they obey by them.
Right. You set boundaries.
They want to talk to you. They want to communicate with you.
Mm-hmm. You have to set boundaries with spirits.
Right.
That also goes right along with before you leave a location, tell the spirits to stay in place.
Right.
Tell them they're not allowed to follow you home. Now, sometimes they will anyway. Depends on if they're a malevolent entity, they don't give a damn about your boundaries.
Right. Exactly. They don't care. But and there's a lot of great. I was fortunate enough to work with and work with Rosemary Ellen Galley. She wrote 65 books, 67 books on the paranormal. You know, if there's a lot of books out there, a lot of people go to those things, but you know, she wrote a lot of book about guides to psychic protection, guides to psychic powers. You know, she wrote books about jinn. She worked all over the place. Just a wonderful lady, very knowledgeable in the paranormal, and anything that you can do. I mean, you want to make sure that you are up to date on anything that's out there. You know, it may work. What works for somebody else may not work for you, but there are different things that you can do that will work for you. Your body knows what's going to work, and it's all about your intent. You know, everything's based on your intent.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you have to control it.
Okay, so getting back to the equipment you might want to have, I suggest everyone that wants to be in this field get a first aid card, CPR card.
Right.
So I'm going over this list that they recommend on. Yeah, no. Well, so they do recommend it. We went over most of it anyway. But a CPR pocket mask. You know, and I have a hard time with that one because most of our CPR today is compression
based.
So while it's great to have a CPR mask, I do have one in my kit, but it kind of came with it, I think.
Yeah.
But again, no CPR, no the CPR standards for today. You might save one of your team members or even a client's life. And you can find all that information on firstaid.org, I think it is. Yeah. Or redcross.org. There we go. But, you know, the bottom line is common sense and pay attention to your historical records. Pay attention to your, you know, all these teams out there should have a pre-investigative questionnaire, and that's going to answer most of your questions.
Honestly,
and also,
sorry,
Yeah, go ahead, Kayla. I'm sorry.
The biggest takeaway, though, that I would tell everybody is to absolutely 100% know your environment. Know where you are, know what's going on.
That situational awareness.
Exactly. Because that is the main thing. Is that you pack for your environment, you pack for what you're going into, you pack for the area that you're going into, the season that it is, the plant life that's around, everything. So just know what you're doing. Know your environment.
And it shouldn't be it shouldn't be said because your cell phone shouldn't be with you on an investigation anyway. But get your head out of your cell phone. That's a part of the problem. Right. And that takes your situational awareness away.
And, you know, the big thing about it is again, it has to do with knowing your surroundings. If you're setting up an investigation and you're working in an area, it's very important that you don't step and stand in front of your cameras. Don't, you know where you're at. Also, listen to your own body. Your body is the best judge. If you're getting a feeling that says you shouldn't be here, then by God, listen to that.
Not only listen to yours, but your other team members as
well.
Team
members.
There is a reason that you have the people on your team that you have. There is a reason that you have the abilities on your team that you have, and if one of them specifically states this is a bad idea, no, let's not do this.
But you know what?
Don't do it.
That goes right back to knowing your team. You need to know the skills of each team member. You've got your techie. You've got your sensitive, your medium. You've got your, and if any one of them has this impending doom feeling or this impending feeling that they just don't belong, Bigfoot actually has been known to give out that same feeling. Get the hell out of my woods. Get off my land. But absolutely, listen to your gut. Your gut never fails you.
And if you are in specific areas that you have never been before and they are treacherous or dangerous in any way, take a guide with you. Mm-hmm. Have somebody that knows the area really, really well and can tell you what's stable and what's not.
And I got to reiterate what Kayla said earlier. If you're in the mountains and you see a rock cliff and you want to try your hand at rock climbing, don't. If you ain't never done it before, don't. Right now is not the time to do it.
Hey, I do what I want.
Yeah. You know, and
I've climbed rock walls, or, rock.
You're not my real mom, okay?
You're right. I've climbed
and also
rock
watch
walls.
your teammates.
Huh?
You got to watch your teammates, too.
Yep.
I mean,
yeah, you do.
Especially if it's a newer person who doesn't necessarily know everything that everybody else can do at that point yet, or if it's one of their first investigations with you. Make sure that they know all of your rules, all of your setup, what you can and can't do.
And I'm going to piss some off with this one, but if your team is under 5 years old, you're a newbie. So, with that being said, if there's a case that you just don't feel comfortable doing, there's no harm in passing it off to a more experienced team.
Or inviting an experienced team with you so that they can be there and help you if you need it. You know, there's a team, you know, we love to work with other people. Mm-hmm. And we will help you out because we want better and more credible people in the paranormal. If this is what you want to do, then hallelujah. You know,
I'd rather be teaching a less experienced team how to do it properly and safely than have them let their ego get in the way and try it, and either a client or a team get hurt, and in the process destroy the paranormal field.
Mm-hmm. Right. I've always been an advocate for sharing of information. And a lot of teams don't do this. Nope. A lot of teams don't share information with other teams or help other teams out in any way, shape, or form. So make your network. Have your network of people that you trust in different areas and in different places, and use them. Use your network.
Mm-hmm. And also, when we're talking about when you're somewhere else and you know your team, be careful about that person that all of a sudden is wanting to go somewhere that they wouldn't normally do. Right. Or they take off and run towards something. Don't let anybody go anywhere by themselves. Reel them in or go with them. But keep your mind open because you're not too sure what's going to be there.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, they can be, other things can cause them to say, come here. You know, and they will come there. That's because of their openness or whatever. It's tricky business, folks. It's very tricky.
Yeah. So what's our pigeon report, Joe?
Pigeons?
Oh, quail.
No pigeons, but the quail were here. Actually, just a couple of minutes ago, a fox walked up. He was about 20 foot away from me before he saw me.
Oh, right on.
I love foxes.
Yeah, foxes are
nice
cool.
Big California gray fox.
Awesome.
Capture me one, skin him and give him to me. Jesus.
I've been feeding him though.
Oh.
Get him.
Yeah.
Yes, her
I'll send you the whole fox.
Vampirism is coming out.
All right.
All right, but this time put holes in the frickin' box. Last time that was gross.
I know, I forgot the first time.
I know, I had a petrified skunk here for months.
Petrified. Oh, God.
Did you get the goat head?
Oh, yeah, I put it in bed with Cole.
That's a horse head. Oh, so what do we got going on into the fire this week, Barry?
We have Richard Rutland and Katie Turner coming on. It'll be a great night. We're really looking forward to them having them back. Both are psychics. Both are dealing with paranormal shows. Katie's from, you'll love this, because she's from Canada. And she does great work, and it's going to be interesting for her. Richard Rutland also has been in the paranormal fields for a long time. And just great people to have on the show to be able to talk just similar to the same stuff we're talking about. How to become better investigators, how to do things, and also talk about some stories that has happened to us all.
Cool. Excellent.
Is that on Tuesdays?
That's Tuesday night. Tuesday night. Friday night. Friday at noon. The one and the only Conspiracy Clan.
Love the Briggs Brothers.
Sunday night. S4 Radio.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So you got any more questions, Daniel?
I think I'm good for now. I'll work out some more stuff and get in contact with you guys again.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
Sounds great. Next week we have Roundtable. If you want, we can pull you in. So Roundtable, we all bring 3 questions to the panel, and we pick them apart.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Sounds good.
And that could be anything: Bigfoot, UFO, alien abduction, hunting,
Fae,
paranormal in general.
Anything. Science.
Oh, God. Quantum physics.
Yep, bring on the quantum. Let's do it.
My questions are all going to center around cold rock climbing.
I still want to know about the quail army.
Actually,
Oh,
Joe,
the quail.
you know what? I never did a lot of rock climbing, but when I was in my 20s, I did ice climb in Banff, Alberta.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Ooh, nice.
You did ice climbing, though, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's a whole nother.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, believe it or not, when we were younger, we were really active. We did a lot of stuff.
My first climb was the Terminator, and it's just off Rundle Mountain.
Yeah. All right, so next week we have Roundtable. The week after that we have what constitutes a paranormal emergency. We'll go a lot more into the signs and symptoms of when do you call a paranormal team in?
When you fucked everything up.
Yeah. After you've already had 10 teams come in and they said, "Ah!" and ran away. Or said there was nothing there and it still continues.
And if you live in Alaska, I'm sorry, but that seems to be a thing.
What?
Anybody living in Alaska, you just call a paranormal team immediately. Don't try to handle that shit yourself.
Right.
No, that's fourth kind.
Right.
Wave it down.
Yes.
Fourth kind. So yeah, this week, let's see, what do we have going on this week? We have Into the Fire. We have the Conspiracy Clan. What's good? What's the topic for Conspiracy Clan?
It's going to be open. We're going to be talking about UFOs, a major part of it, and a crop circle that came up that looks like the Kobik.
I saw that.
Spore.
Yeah, that was weird.
Really kind of cool.
Interesting.
Ooh, I can't
Right.
wait.
June 1st, the Pentagon is releasing, 10,000 files?
Yeah,
Yep.
buddy.
So,
We're coming up on that. Yeah, there's a
10,000
lot of
files
time
redacted
coming
down to 2 words. It'll be
interesting,
great.
yeah, after they've blacked everything out.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting times. Interesting times.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You know what
very
half of
interesting
them are going to
times.
say?
What?
10:22 a.m., January 21st. President farted. That is all.
God.
I'm not
Three
kidding.
aliens.
That's what half
Yeah.
of them will probably say.
And that'll be out
Yes.
right now.
Killed 3 aliens that were visiting. That's why we have a problem now.
Right. Oh, I think that most of them are going to be redacted to the point that it says the and the, and that'll be it.
The rest will be redacted, and we gotta figure out how to unredact it.
Yeah.
There's not going to be anything in those.
No, that's what I'm saying. Even if they do have any information in it, it's going to be hidden so far down and it's going to be so covered up that I don't think it'll actually give us anything new or anything. They might throw a breadcrumb out there just to screw with people.
Right.
Watch for information to come from a different source.
It'll be interesting to see what they give us all anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it will be. It will be very interesting.
So
Daniel,
on
it
that
was a
note,
pleasure being with you tonight.
It
And I
was.
hope that if you offer any kind of assistance I can for you. So But just be very careful and work on some of that protection stuff because you're definitely going to need to do that. Some of the things, because you're going to be susceptible to maybe walking around with an attachment, because some of the things that you're doing seems like there's maybe something that's guiding you to those places that may want you to be that way. Not saying it, but you need to be careful with that.
Oh, definitely.
And like
I had my mic off earlier, but I had a question for Daniel about the graves that he found.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
was wondering if those were they out in the woods where nobody really knew where they were?
This area
And
that we were at, if we were to park and leave the truck where we were hunting, because we usually made a loop where we usually go about 3 or 4 miles in a loop back to the main road, back to the truck, because he had a GPS with him. The cabin was probably 100 yards or something like that, plus from where the graves were at. So the graves were back away even further from anything.
So the graves were kind of hidden in a way and nobody knew about them. And what I was thinking was that maybe whoever was there felt forgotten. And they brought you in just to let them know, hey, I existed. Thank you for coming by.
Right.
That's what I was thinking the whole time.
That would make sense.
And that's a very good possibility. You know, if they died, nobody knew they died. They were, buried back there by the only survivor, and they're not actually in a public cemetery. They're just buried in the backyard, basically.
Well, here in Kentucky, we have a lot of private on old farms and everything else where you have family graveyards. It was very popular.
Right.
And in the wilderness, you just went out back and found a good spot and laid them to rest there, And maybe if your family could have done it and moved away, and there you are,
Well, over in Eastern Washington, I have our family plot, my family plot, and it is a tiny little cemetery in the middle of nowhere, honestly, and there's a lot of little cemeteries like that all over Eastern Washington.
Right. Or you stumble into a serial killer's burial ground. You never know.
Right.
Yeah. Stay off my land.
Yeah.
God.
Oh.
And that was honestly one of my things I always think about too. Is if I was out in the middle of the woods and somewhere that's easily accessible to a main road, wandering into one of those kind of things would be weird.
Yeah.
You'll know it. I'll tell you that much.
Make sure you start working on your grounding and shielding, and document.
Yeah.
Keep a journal of everything that's going on.
Definitely.
Most important journals.
Yep.
Yep.
And that's why I tell most clients is make sure you keep a notebook by your bed as soon as you wake up, because a lot of it's dream activity. But as soon as you wake up, make sure you document the date, the time, the weather, because weather impacts dreams as well. And details of what you dreamt, details of what you saw. If you're good at drawing, draw a diagram of what you saw. So with that note, stay safe this week, folks. And remember, keep your eyes to the skies.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight on S4, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. You can contact S4 through our website at www.s-4radio.com or on Facebook. Make sure you give us a like on our page and join the Forest Moon Paranormal group. If you are interested in advertising, take a look at our packages and contact Cole or Eric at 1-360-999-2830. Again, thank you. And remember, keep your eyes to the sky.